Hello everyone, welcome to StudyIQ IAS English channel. My name is Shubham Sagar. Today we'll be starting lecture 14. So yesterday, or in the lecture 13, what we have done was we have started early medieval India, 750 AD to 1200 AD according to Upinder Singh's Ancient and Early Medieval India book, the chronology and the dates, right? So we are still in early medieval India and we'll complete early medieval India today and we'll go to medieval period, that is 1200 to 1757 AD. Some people also say 1206 to 1757 AD. So from tomorrow onwards, we'll be starting Delhi Sultanate. Fine. But today we have to do a very big chunk of early medieval India. Yesterday in the previous lecture, we have talked about, good evening Bulbul, good evening Pradeep. In the previous lecture, we have talked about how Gujara, Pratiharas, Gujara, Pratihara, and then Palas and Rashtrakutas, how the tripartite struggle happened. And even though Gujara, Pratihara won, they all lost in reality because all of them got weakened, and which will lead to creation of, further kingdoms like Gahadwalas, Paramaras, Chahamanas, whom you also know as Chauhans, Paramaras. There are so many other dynasties we'll talk about, Shishodiyas. So all these dynasties, their origin and rise, and then Arab invasion, Turkish invasion, QGG, Qasim, Ghazni, Gauri. So there are so many things to talk about, so many facts and figures which we have to remember in a playful manner, right? Otherwise, this thing can become very boring. So let's start this whole discussion. But before we do that, let's kill it. As we have already discussed that, and I think from last 3-4 lectures we are doing it, that we are doing at least 10 questions every day, which is a mixture of PYQs and practice questions based on UPSC's current pattern. So today also we'll do the same. We'll solve some 1 or 2 questions and then we'll go back to the lecture. So first question for the day. And this is your revision. And again, make it a habit at the end, whether you're watching it live, whether you're watching it recorded, in the comment section post how many out of the 10 you're getting correct. And not only for this particular lecture, but even for the previous lecture. So the first question is, with reference to Indian history, which of the following are the essential elements of the feudal system? 2015, this is a PYQ. First statement is a very strong centralized political authority, a very weak provincial or local political authority. Second statement is emergence of administrative structure based on control and possession of land. Third is creation of lord-vassal relationship between the feudal lord and his overlord. Select the correct answer using the code given below. A is 1 and 2 only, B is 2 and 3 only, C 3 only, and D 1, 2 and 3. So good evening Sundaram, good evening everyone. So what is your answer for this particular question? You have seen this, or the people who are differentially abled, I have told you the options, you can rewind it. They're asking about feudal system, essential elements, and 3 options are very strong centralized political authority. Second option is emergence of administrative structure based on control and possession of land. Third is creation of lord and vassal relationship between the feudal lord and his overlord, right? So what is the correct answer? And then the options 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 3 only, D 1, 2 and 3. So again, we had discussed about feudalism in detail in the previous lecture, that the basic core tenet of feudalism is, what is the basic core tenet? The basic core tenet is you should have a decentralized system. The more centralized system we have, according to Marxist historians, the feudalism will die a slow death, and that slow death will happen during the period of Delhi Sultanate, which will be starting from tomorrow, right? So that means the first statement is wrong. Always do option elimination, it will help you. So A and D is gone. Now you're left with B and C. Emergence of administrative structure based on control and possession of land. We have seen that whole feudalism, most of the attributes of feudalism revolves around land possession. If you have lands, you will give land grants. That will lead to sub-infeudation of land, all these things, right? So the answer is B, 2 and 3. I don't know why initially people were hovering around C. The answer is B. Fine. So revise these questions, because if you do PYQs wrong, then that is a matter of concern. And we have discussed feudalism in the previous lecture, so you can revise it. Fine. So the answer is B, 2 and 3 only. Second question, and then we'll go to the topic. Consider the following pairs. There is term and what they are associated with. So first term is narrative, and they are associated with that they mostly contain prescriptions about social norms. Second is didactic, and they are associated with that they mostly contain stories. Third is Bhagavad Gita, and it is said that they are associated with predominantly narrative text. So how many pairs are correctly matched? A only 1, B only 2, C all 3, D none. And yes, and reiterating it again and again, that make it a habit. How many you are getting correct? From last 2-3 lectures, we are doing at least 10. So do it for the previous lectures also. Post it in the comment section, your marks. If you feel like, you can post it. That is, doesn't matter even if you're getting 0 out of 10. The practice matters. So what is the answer of this particular question? Pairs terms associated with narrative, didactic, Bhagavad Gita. Narrative mostly contains prescriptions about social norms. Didactic mostly contains stories. Bhagavad Gita predominantly narrative. So how many pairs are correctly matched? Bulbul has given the answer. Sundaram has given the answer. A only 1, B only 2, C all 3, D none. Questions will be tough because these kind of questions are generally tough. Again, if you revise, if you go to the previous lectures of mine and you revise narrative and didactic text, you will realize that narrative texts were mostly containing stories, Didactic texts were those texts where they are telling what you have to do. You should wake up 5 in the morning, you should respect your elders and all those things. You should do Gayatri Mantrocharan and all those stuff. So that is didactic, what you should be doing as a human being, ethical attributes. So 1 and 2, they are, just reversed. And Bhagavad Gita is mainly didactic because it tells you that do your work, don't think about results so much. So it predominantly contains didactic text, not narrative. So the answer is none of the pairs are correctly matched and none of you answered it correctly. Fine. So again, these questions are tough. Do revise it. So now let's come back to what we have to discuss. And what is the source of this question which I gave you? The Bhagavad Gita, the narrative and the didactic text, NCERT class 12. That is Rationalize NCERT class 12, chapter 3, page 21. So that NCERT you can easily download from NCERT's website and you can see this particular chapter and this particular page. Now let's come to origin and rise of Rajputs. So we have discussed in the previous class, Palas, Gujarapatihara, Rashtrakutas, all of them will disintegrate by the end of 10th and 11th century because tripartite struggle have made them weak, and that would lead to emergence of Paramaras, Chahamanas, Gahadwalas and other kingdoms, Shishodiyas, and all these kingdoms, how they came, like what is the origin, from where they have came, So there are different origin theories related to Rajput. One theory is they have tribal origin, tribal origin. So tribal origin means maybe the Gond tribe which you are seeing in current day central India and the other tribes, from there these Rajputs emerged. They, participated in different battles and they emerged victorious, and that's how Rajput clan emerged. There is another concept which is known as Rajputization and Kshatriyization. Rajputization and Kshatriyization. This is actually a tricky term, Kshatriyization. What does it mean? See, I will tell you later on when we'll talk about Bhakti movement and Sufi movement, you will realize why Bhakti movement emerged earlier in South India. Bhakti movement was again a reaction, against, in some way you can say that against Brahmanical supremacy, that God does not belong to only a few, God belongs to us all. So you will see when you will talk about even Alwar, Nayanas, you will talk about other people, they come from low caste when we talk about Bhakti movement in South India, and it emerged first in South India. Many people say that this Rajputization of North India, which we will talk about later on, this Rajputization of North India also prevented Bhakti movement from emerging first in North India. Why? We will understand this. Let's say there is one theory which is about tribal origin of Rajputs, that Rajputs emerged from tribal people, Gonds, etc. So they are not Kshatriya, they are tribal people, and according to the Varna classification of, if you read from the earlier Vedic text, later Vedic text, you will realize that they are outcast. And so who will make them Kshatriya? They will be made Kshatriya by only one particular entity, and those are called Brahmanas. And this is known as Rajputization of Northern India or Kshatriyization, because they will be made Kshatriya by Brahmins via doing certain rituals and sacrifices that will ensure that Brahmanical supremacy remains in North India. And because of this, and Brahmins will never want that somebody will come and challenge their authority. And this is one of the predominant reason why Bhakti movement did not start first in North India. That was not the case when we talk about South India per se. We'll talk about it in detail later on. I'm just giving you one point. Then there are other theories also, that they are of foreign origin, Shakas, Kushanas, etc. When they arrived, they later on became Rajput. Then there is another theory related to Rajput, that they are of mixed origin. Mixed origin means that these Shakas, Kushanas, they came. So they must have married some Indians or indigenous people of Indian subcontinent and Rajputs belong to that particular mixed origin. So there are different theories related to origin and rise of Rajputs. So political condition of North India before establishment of Delhi Sultanate. And again, please understand this. If you don't look at the map for Rajputs, if you don't look at the map that where Gahadwalas were, Jaichand, you must have seen Akshay Kumar's awesome movie Prithviraj Chauhan, where he completed that movie in 40 days. He completed most of his movies in 40 days. There are, people who praise it, there are people who criticize it. So Gahadwalas, Ashutosh Rana was the one who played Jaichand in that particular movie. So he belonged to the Gahadwalas clan or Gahadwala dynasty. Kanya Kubja, Kashi. So again, the best way to understand Rajput is through maps. When we talk about, let's say, Paramaras, let's say they are ruling in this particular Malwa region. Dhar is their capital. Let's say we talk about Chandelas who are ruling in the Jejaka Bhukti region. Jejaka Bhukti is Bundelkhand region. The best way you can understand them is by looking at the map. You have to love map, just like you love your... Okay. So, political condition of North India before the establishment of Delhi Sultanate, they are again saying that it was fragmented, Gujra, Patihara, etc. All of them are declining, and taking advantage of this situation, so many Rajput clan emerged, Chauhans, Paramaras, we'll talk about them, Chaulukyas, because we know UPSC has asked questions on this, and this will be one of the toughest questions which will be asked, right? So Chaulukyas, in the previous lecture, we have talked about them. What is the other name of Chaulukyas? If you know it, you can post it in the comment section. What Chaulukyas were called and how they played a crucial role in the establishment of Sun Temple at Modhera, Gujarat. And I think they also gave patronage to Jain temples in Western India. Bhima one, Chaulukyas, the other name. Again, if you know it, show it. If you have it, flaunt it. So, Arab conquest of Sindh. When all these things were going on, Gujra, Patiharas and Palas and Rashtrakutas, just before all these tripartite struggles we have talked about Arab conquest of Sindh, how they were confined to this particular Sindh region by Gujra Pratihara. And again, who was that ruler who kept Arabs in the Sindh region? You can again post it, who was that Gujra Pratihara ruler. That way what will happen? You will keep on revising your stuff. Very good, Umesh has given the answer. Umesh is a good guy. So now here there are certain things which we need to understand. So what we have studied in the previous lecture, that Arab conquest of Sindh, and they did not went beyond that, they did not enter into the Malwa region because of Gurjara Pratihara and their founder, whose name starts with N-A, and after that I will not tell you. So yes, so Arab, what is happening? 7th century AD, Islam has arrived, and here the followers of Prophet Muhammad, they will establish something called as Caliphate. And you may have heard about Caliphate. Caliphate was in use even in modern history. When we talk about First World War, you know what happened, when we talk about non-cooperation movement, we talk about Maulana Ali, Shaukat Ali and Ali brothers, Khilafat movement, that is also associated with Caliphate. So that will help you in remembering the Caliphate thing. But here we are concerned with the starting Caliphates or the earlier Caliphates. So Muhammad bin Qasim, like these are the Arab invaders. We'll talk about them in detail later on. Here we are just getting a brief understanding. We have seen that the mnemonic for Arab invaders is QGG, Qasim, Ghazni and Ghori. Here we are talking about the first major Arab invader, that is Muhammad bin Qasim. He belonged to a caliphate known as Umayyad. Again, this is not needed. You don't need to remember these names. Again, what you need to remember is the chronology of these caliphates. That the earliest caliphate after Islam arrived was Rashidun, then Umayyad, then Abbasid. Now, how will you remember it? This is actually tricky. Oh my God, Anju has given the answer. Bulbul has given the answer of the questions which I have asked earlier. You people are awesome. So yes, sir, 3 caliphates. These are the earliest caliphate. UPSC, as you have seen in CDS, see, one thing people say that if you have to look at the trend, what UPSC is going to ask this year, what you have to do is you have to look at their NDA paper of this year, CDS paper, CAPF paper, etc. So you will realize that they are making questions tough. So here they can give you this chronology that arrange this caliphate in chronological order, just like they have given Kali era in one of the PYQs. So how will you remember? There was a guy called Imran Hashmi. You may have heard about him, Imran Hashmi. Maybe some of you like him. So there was a song, Ye Dhuan Dhuan Sa. So just remember Ruan Ruan Sa. Ruan Ruan. Rashidum, Umayyad, Abbasid. Don't remember Dhuan Dhuan, just remember Ruan Ruan. Rashidum, Umayyad, Abbasid. That will help you in remembering the caliphate. Okay, this will be easier now. You can now remember it. Fine. So Arab conquest, Sindh, and again, they gave them the status of Jimmis, the protected subject. They can ask you these terms again. And Qasim was recalled by the Caliph, and they did not go further because of Gujara Pratihara. And you people also write the name of that guy who was the founder of Gujara Pratiharas, who stopped them from entering further into the Indian subcontinent. Fine. Then, even though these people were confined to Sindh, they played a crucial role. They understood about Indian culture, Indian astronomy, Indian maths, etc. Just like go back and revise Ecumenians. We have heard about Ecumenians, we have heard about Macedonians, how when they came, they carried Indian culture far and wide. Similarly, they also left their influence in the northwestern frontier province region. Similarly, these Arab people, they came here, although they are confined to Sindh region, but what they will do, they will understand our culture, our astronomy, and then they will carry it far and wide. Or maybe some people also they say that Arabs numeral system or numeric system, etc., got influenced by Indian numerology. Again, all these things were happening because Arab has arrived at Sindh. So that's what they are saying. Muslims could not expand their authority further into India due to powerful Gujara Pratihara king and their founder, which you people have written in the comment section. But diffusion of Indian culture happened. Indian medicine and astronomy went far and wide. That is what is written here. You can have a look at it. Now, this is the Kannauj triangle which we have talked about. In the previous lecture. Pala, Gujara Pratihara, Rashtrakutas, do revise them. Like, who is known as Ashoka of the South? Which ruler was known as Ashoka of the South? And we have even heard the song, Roshni se bhare bhare, bhare bhare, naina tere. Who is Ashoka of the South? Post it in the comment section. So again, this map will help you in understanding a lot of things. Today we have to see a lot of maps. So origin and rise of Rajputs we have discussed. Mainly, if you see, and I will tell you a cheat code here, sometimes in pre as well as in mains they will ask you that, Gahadwalas were feudatories of, or Paramaras were feudatories of, or Chandelas were feudatories of, or Shishodiyas were feudatories of. Most of these Rajputs, it is said that they were feudatories of Gujara Pratihara. Some of them were feudatories of Rashtrakutas. Very few were feudatories of Palas. So this is a cheat code for you. Even in prelims, if they give you that most of these Rajput clans, they were feudatories of Gujara Pratihara, just close your eyes and mark tick. That is mostly correct. And again, there are some confusion also regarding different Rajput clans. But there is a general consensus among historians that most of these Rajput clans emerged out of Gujara Pratihara, right? So again, you people are writing the answer of Ashoka of the South. So we have talked about tribal origin theory, Gonds and Bhar and Kharwad, all these tribal people, you are still seeing them. Gond is one of the largest tribal group in India, and Rajputs emerged out from them. And who made them Rajputs? Who made them Kshatriya? That was done by Kshatriyization, Rajputization. These works were done by Brahmin. They make these tribals as, Kshatriya. And this is called as Rajputization of North India. Many historians believe this stopped Bhakti movement from starting from North India. There are other reasons also. North India was in turmoil. You can see it. South India was relatively peaceful in this particular early medieval period. Pallavas, Cholas, all these kingdoms, they were giving patronage to, Bhakti saints, Alvars and Nayanas. That was not happening in North India. They were fighting one battle after the other. So all these things were happening. Many people have answered Amogha Very good, yeah. So Kshatriyization, and again, the other theories related to Rajput, that foreign origin. Shakas, Kushanas, we have talked about this particular thing, and then a mixed origin, that these Shakas, Kushanas, Hunas, they came and they married some indigenous people, and Rajputs emerged from them. Then there are other theories also, that there is too much diversity when we talk about Rajput clan. It's not like they are a homogeneous entity. Rajputs, when we talk about Rajputs, they are heterogeneous by nature. Heterogeneous means if Rajputs emerged out of Shakas, they will have their own characteristics. Kushanas, they will have their own characteristics. Then scholars deduce one more thing. They believe that Rajputs, earlier Rajputs who worshipped, let's say, Surya or sun, and the other group of Rajputs who worshipped snake. So they believe that the Rajputs who worshipped sun, they are of foreign origin. The Rajputs who worshipped snake, they are of indigenous origin, because snake worshipping is done in our Indian subcontinent from time immemorial. But sun, worshipping of sun, we have discussed this when we were talking about temple architecture, that worshipping of sun came from Kashmir, and then it went to Western India, and then it went to Eastern India, sun temple worshipping in Northern India, and then Western India, sun temple Modhera. Eastern India, you talk about sun temple at Konark. So this worshipping of sun is not an indigenous concept according to various scholars. This is a foreign concept. So hello VK short. So these points you have to keep it in mind. Fine. So again, this is what is written here. Those Rajputs devoted to the worship of Shan may be regarded as foreigners in origin. Shakas, Kushanas, Hunas, and like not Hunas, but Shakas, Kushanas, and those who worship serpent or Naga, they have probably descended from the aborigines of this country. So if you have to remember Nagas, you can remember Nagraj. In our time, there was a comics which was known as Raj Comics. I loved Super Commando Dhruv. Dhruv is my favorite character. Many people loved Nagaraj more than Dhruv. So via Nagaraj, you can remember the Nagas and the serpents. If Rajput people are worshipping them, then there is a very high probability that they belong to the indigenous origin. So again, these things will help you in remembering facts. So let's now do some practice. We have done some theory. We have done two questions, two PY questions, I think. One was PYQ or I think both were PYQ. Sir, what is the timetable of your crash course? Timetable. So we will be meeting till prelims. I think I'll be there with you till for 100 days. And in the, starting 40-45 days, we have to complete history and then we'll be covering the other portion. Do watch the orientation lecture VK short. You will understand what I'm saying. So third question of the day. After this question, 7 more questions remain. Consider the following statement. A. Animism is worship of one god at a time as supreme without denying the existence of other gods. B. Cathenotheism is worship of trees, stones, etc. C. Harappans didn't believe in animism. How many of the given statements are correct? A. Only 1. B. None. C. Only 2. D. All 3. Don't worry too much about the toughness of the question. If you can solve these tough questions, you will find easier questions in the exam, right? And that is much better rather than I'm just giving you lollipop questions and then you encountering tougher questions in exam. So yes, sir. Bulbul has given the answer. Consider the following statements. Animism is worship of one god at a time as supreme without denying the existence of other gods. This is not animism, bro. This is cathenotheism. Cathenotheism is a form of polytheism in which one god will become supreme and other god will become secondary. Like, we have talked about it. In Diwali, your Lakshmi Mata will become supreme. In Dashera or Durga Puja, Kali Mata will become supreme. Other gods will become secondary. That is cathenotheism, which is a form of polytheism, term coined by Max Muller. Cathenotheism. So again, we have interchanged it. Animism is worship of tree stones. So A and B statement is wrong or are wrong. Harappans didn't believe in animism. Harappans believed in animism. We have talked about this. I have shown you that slide also. You can go back to IVC lecture and you can revise it. So the answer is none of the statement is correct. B, none. Let me see how many of you answered it. Okay. So, okay, cool. So the question is tough, but easier question will also come. So again, please revise IVC lecture. See here, Harappan religion is normally termed as animism, worship of trees, stones, etc. Many people believe that they were secular because you find figurines of male god, female goddesses rather. So yes, secular and animism is the predominant part. You see these kind of trees carved onto stones. So animism, worship of trees, stones, etc. So again, a tricky question, a tough question. But it's fine. If you're getting it wrong here, don't get wrong in exam. Polytheism and cathenotheism, these are the slides I'm showing you from, I think, Chalcolithic and IVC lecture. So please go and revise them. So now let's come back to our lecture. So we are talking about Rajputs. We have talked about Arabs. We have talked about their, caliphate and the mnemonic, that is Ruwa. Rashidum, Umayyad and Abbasid. Ruwa sa hone do. Dhua nahi. So Ruwa again. Now we have to talk about these Rajputs. And again, this is one of the most boring lectures when I used to study, but I will make it like the most fascinating lecture. And the only way to do that is to have a look at map. Let's say you're looking at Gahadwalas of Kannauj. These are the major Rajputs and UPSC is focusing in this on this area now. They're asking you Nanuka is associated with which dynasty, or again, Nagbhattu is associated with which dynasty. That is a PYQ they have asked. So you have to be very aware. These are the questions which will, give you an edge over others. Most of the people will leave this part. If you're doing this part, it will give you an edge over others. And that is actually a very big advantage in today's cutthroat competition. So we'll talk about all these kingdoms one by one. I will show you the map. I will tell you certain things. and then we'll talk about them. So Gahadwalas of Kannauj. First of all, let's start with Chahamanas. Chahamanas, you also know them as Chauhans. You know, there were different Chahamanas. Chahamanas emerged as early as 6th century AD. You know, 6th century AD. They remained active till 12th to 13th century AD. 6th century AD, and there were different Chahamanas. Chahamanas of Ajmer, Chahamanas of some other area, but Chahamanas of Ajmer were very famous and they were very powerful. So here, when you are talking about Chahamanas or Chauhans, just remember one thing, their names are ending with Raja. You know, Ajay Raja, Prithvi Raja. So Ajay Raja of Chahamanas, he established a city called Ajay Meru. Ajay Raja. They can ask you, Ajay Meru was established by which kingdom of or king of which particular dynasty? Chahamanas, other name of Chauhans. Ajay Raja established Ajay Meru, which you now known as Ajmer. Fine. And what are the other things which you have to remember? As I have told you, it's not like you talk about Prithviraj Chauhan, he was Prithviraj III. Before him, two other Prithviraj arrived who were from Chahamana dynasty. So you generally hear about him. But you have to understand, they are very old, but they became very popular during the 12th century when you talk about Battle of Tarain, etc. And generally what happens when we talk about, you know, Mahmud of Ghajni, and you talk about these guys, Mahmud Ghori, with whom Prithviraj Chauhan or Prithviraj III will fight. So you generally associate that Mahmud Ghori came to India first time and he fought the first battle with Chahamanas. No. He fought a lot of battles. He got defeated in a lot of battles, like he got defeated by Chaulukya king, Mula Raja II. We'll talk about it. And again, the more stories you hear, the more you will be able to remember them. So what are the important things? Chahamanas, Chauhans, 6th century AD is the origin point. They became very powerful in the 12th century AD. There are different Chahamanas. They have different branches. Chahamanas of Ajmer are the most powerful, or were the most powerful. Ajay Raja of Chahamana dynasty, he established Ajay Meru, which you now know as Ajmer rather. Now there is a homework for you people. What is the homework here? Just look at Shakambari, Dhillika and Tribhandapura. What you have to do is, this is your homework, HW, you can later on post it in the comment section also, that what is the current name of these places? Tribhandapura, Dhillika, Shakambari, their present name. That's it. You don't need to do PhD here. Rest all that Prithviraj III or Prithviraj Chauhan, you know, Chand Bardai wrote Prithviraj Raso on him, and it is a semi-historical, semi-accurate account, and there are certain interpolation and extrapolation which has been done in Chand Bardai or Prithviraj, means Chand Bardai's Prithviraj Raso. Then we'll also talk about a book written by Jayanayaka, what he wrote about Prithviraj III. So all these are some small facts which you have to keep in mind. That's it. You don't have to do PhD because we still have so many other Rajputs to cover, you know. Okay, now let's come back and let's move forward and talk about it. So Chauhans of Ajmer, also known as Chahamanas, they were feudatories of Gujara Pratiharas. I have just told you that this is a cheat code for you people. Most of the Rajputs emerged from Gujara Pratihara. So if they are giving you this in the prelims, in the means, you know, one of the options, you have to tick it. And because there are very few Rajputs who emerged from Rashtrakutas and almost none emerged from Palas. So Gujara Pratihara is the common denomination, or you know, common factor here. You can tick it. Don't worry too much about it. If something goes wrong, I am there. You can kill me for that. So they are very old. 6th century founder was Vasudev, and after tripartite struggle which ended around 1000 AD, Simha Raja is associated to be the founder. You don't have to do PhD here. Why I am telling you all these things? To just tell you that Chahamanas or Chauhans were not only, you know, ruling for 100 or 200 years, almost 600 years they ruled, approximate 600 years. Last Raja was Hari Raja, and he was the last around 1193-94. Here also there are different facts. Some people say that, you know, Muhammad Ghori, after defeating Prithviraj III, Prithviraj Chauhan, in second battle of Tarain, which happened in 1192 AD, he killed his sons and everything. Other people say that no, he did not do that, because in 1192 battle of Tarain, he defeated Chahamanas. Then 1193, he defeated Tomaras of Delhi. Then 1194, he defeated Gahadwalas of Kannauj. That is battle of Chandavar. So he was like, no man, I first of all have to defeat them, have to ensure that they accept my subordination. I will allow them to rule for a certain period, because I also have to go back to my region, that is Marv and Khurasan, which were in Central Asia, to look what is happening there. So many people believe, because Muhammad Ghori also did not have any son, so he allowed the successors to rule, and he went back to Khurasan and Marv, which was in Central Asia, where he was ruling, to look after his affairs. And he let these areas under his slaves. He did not have any, child of his own. Some people asked him, you may have heard about this particular story, that you do not have any child, Muhammad Ghori. He was like, no, my slaves are my sons. So there were many slaves of this particular Muhammad Ghori. Kutubuddin Aibak was his favorite, so-called favorite. Then you must have heard about Bakhtiyar Khilji, who played a crucial role in destroying most of the Buddhist sculptures and, in Eastern India. Bakhtiyar Khilji, he's very infamous for doing that. Very, single-handedly responsible for bringing decline of Buddhism in this particular period. We'll talk about all of them. So yes, sir, Ajay Meru founded Ajmer, or Ajay Raja rather founded Ajay Meru or Ajmer. We have talked about all these things. Prithviraj III, that is Prithviraj Chauhan, began. Again, have a look at this. Now there is a question for you. Battle of Tarayan. We all have read about it from our childhood. We have talked, everybody, doesn't matter whether you're preparing for exam or not. The question is, where is Tarayan? In which particular state Tarayan lies? What is the name of that particular state in which this Tarayan region is there, where they fought these two battles? Next year he came first time. They defeated Muhammad Ghori, Prithviraj Chauhan, and his army defeated Muhammad Ghori. But again, Rajput valor, Rajput ethics, they did not kill him. They should have killed him. Again, we can agree to disagree, but yes, I personally feel they should have killed him. Next year he arrived with a longer army, or bigger army rather, is the rather means correct word here, and he defeated. And this whole thing changed Indian history to a certain extent. So now what are the things which are important? We can always debate about what would have happened if this would have happened, and again, we will not go there because time is less, we have to read a lot. So again, Prithviraj Raso by Chand Bardai. This is a very important book. Most of the people talk about this. You have to also remember the other book. Jayanayaka wrote Prithviraj Vijaya. So Prithviraj Raso, UPSC has asked questions, other exams have asked questions on Prithviraj Raso. So Prithviraj Vijaya we have to remember. Just like when we talk about Vishakha Datta, UPSC has asked questions on Devi Chandraguptam, written by Vishakha Datta. So now we have to study about Mudra Rakshasa, what UPSC has not asked. So you have to focus on these areas. These terms are very important. Prithviraj Raso, Chand Bardai, Prithviraj Vijaya, Jayanayaka. And again, Prithviraj Raso we have just discussed. It is semi-accurate, semi-historical account, and this guy is Akshay Kumar. He played Prithviraj Chauhan and he completed that movie in 40 days. I think he should have given more days to play such, and he used false moustache. He shouldn't have. Okay, we can again talk about that. So Chand Bardai, Prithviraj Raso, court poet, he was the court poet, and again I think Sonu Sood played the character of Chand Bardai in this particular movie. Again, why I'm talking about movie, that will help you in understanding or remembering facts in a better manner. So again, please pay attention here. Chand Bardai is a semi-historical, semi-legendary account. Many people, there are so many things which is written there that he killed Muhammad Ghori or what happened. But we do realize that Muhammad Ghori was here for a very considerable period. You will see that Battle of Chandawar will happen, and after that also he will fight with Karamatiyas, he will fight with Dor Rajputs, so many things he will do. So that's why it is said that it is a semi-historical, semi-legendary account. Don't kill me in the comment section. Historians say it, I don't say it. I have no opinion of my own. I just state what has been stated by scholars and historians. My opinions and your opinions don't matter. Historians and scholars' opinion matter, right? So now, let's focus on Gahadwalas. We have talked about Chahamanas or Chauhans. We have seen they had different branches. Chahamanas of Ajmer were the most famous. Ajay Raja established Ajay Meru. Prithviraj Chauhan is actually Prithviraj III. Now here let's focus on Gahadwalas. They initially, their capital was Kashi. Banaras, Kashi. Later on they also captured Kanyakubja. What is the current name of Kanyakubja? If you know it, you can post it in the comment section. Around 1194 AD. What is the story here? What is the chronology? Let's say this is Ajmer. This is Ajmer. So Muhammad Ghori captured Ajmer in 1192 AD. Then he went further east. He captured Delhi in 1193 AD from Tomaras. You can see how, he's extending his Indian subcontinent borders, and how he's extending his territories rather. And 1194, he defeated these Gahadwalas, who at that particular point of time were one of the most powerful Rajput kingdoms, if not the most powerful Rajput kingdoms. So most of the people, they just focus on Battle of Tarayan, 1192. You have to focus on 1194, Battle of Chandawar. Because Tarayan everybody knows. So now we have to know something which most of the people skip, which you shouldn't skip. At the same time, you also have to pay attention to the map, because map will help you in understanding facts in a much better manner. Fine. Gahadwalas. The most important king here is Jayachand, who was the father-in-law of Prithviraj Chauhan. And again here, we'll talk about so many factors like why Rajputs got defeated by these Arab invaders, etc. And finally, why these Turkish invasions were successful, so to say. So there again, you can see here, lack of unity. So who is the founder? Chandradev is the founder. Sometimes I will write question mark in front of these rulers. So wherever there is a question mark against, let's say the dates and everything, so that means the dates are not very clear. If there is a question mark in front of the first ruler, that means we don't know for sure. Let's say if I talk about a particular Rajput dynasty whose founder was Shiaka, and I write a question mark in front of Shiaka, that means there are still debates going on whether Shiaka was actually the founder of that particular dynasty or not. So here, if we don't have any question mark in front of the years as well as the first ruler, that means there is certain amount of certainty that this was the period almost for 120 years Gahadwala's rule, and Chandradev was the first ruler. Jayachand, you have to remember. Father-in-law, and again, we have talked about all these things. Battle of Tarayan, 1192, he did not help his son-in-law, because again, we have seen serials, we have watched so many things related to what happened and how Prithviraj Chauhan took away his daughter and everything. So we'll not go there. That is not much of much importance to us. But what is important is Battle of Chandavar. Don't forget it. Chandavar is in UP. I asked a question, where is Tarayan? Okay, Sundaram has given the answer of that particular question. Tarayan is in Haryana. Fine. See this part. His son Harishchandra was allowed by Muhammad Ghori to rule on his behalf. So these are some talks going on among scholars. Some people believe that they were allowed. Similarly, some people also believe that Prithviraj's 3 sons, that is Prithviraj Chauhan's sons, were allowed to rule. Some people believe that no. Even if it happened for 1 or 2 years, and then Muhammad Ghori's slaves, they took over. So we'll talk about that also. So this is the guy whose name is Ashutosh Rana. He played Jayachandra in Prithviraj Chauhan movie. And he belonged to Gahadwalas. Gahadwalas initially had their capital at Kashi, Banaras. Later on, they also captured Kanya Kubja, which is now known as Kannauj, as Guru Raj is saying. Cool. So now let's talk about third major Rajputs, Paramaras. The things which I'll be telling you, you have to focus on those points and have a look at the maps. Thanvishwara, which was earlier known as Thaneshwar. We have read about Thaneshwar earlier as well. When have we read about Thaneshwar? If you know it again, you can post it in the comment section. So Paramaras, their capital was Dhar. Capital was Dhar. Dhar is in Madhya Pradesh. And if you see their area, you can realize that, okay, this dynasty actually ruled for a rule over a appreciable area, Paramaras, right? Their most famous king is Bhoj. Kaha Raja Bhoj, kaha Gangu Teli. So you may have heard about King Bhoj. So King Bhoj belonged to Paramara dynasty, and he was the one who established Dhar, or added so many things to Dhar, established universities. He himself wrote so many. He was called as Kavi Raja. This will remind you of, Ashoka of the South, Amogha who wrote Kavi Raja Marga. So again, Bhoj, you have to remember, it was capital of Pushyabhutis before Harsha shifted it to Kannauj. Very good, Umesh. As Umesh is saying, Thaneshwar we have read earlier when we were talking about Pushyabhuti dynasty, and it was the capital of Pushyabhuti of Vardhana dynasty, and later on Harsha shifted it to Kannauj. Fine. So Paramaras, Raja Bhoj, he was Kavi Raja, he popularized or made Dhar as the capital. And again, have a look at these Rajput kingdoms and also see which Rajput kingdoms they are, closer to. Let's say Paramaras. If you again go back and see the Gahadwalas, they're very close to Gahadwalas, so they will fight with Gahadwalas. They're very close to even Chahamanas of Ajmer, so they will fight with Chahamanas of Ajmer. In fact, they are so large that they will fight with almost all the other Rajput kingdoms. So I've told you the important facts. Their capital, their most important ruler, Thaneshwar, was under their domain. They can ask you that at one point of time, because they ruled for a considerable period, at one point of time, Thanvishwara was under their domain. That is correct. Thanishwara name is also known as Thaneshwar. That is also correct. So, Paramaras of Malwa, see here, question mark. Unlike when we were talking about Gahadwalas who ruled for around 1089 to 1197 AD, 110 years approximate, here there is a question mark. That means we are not very sure that this particular time period, which is written in some books, not written in others, that is exactly true or not. 10 to 14th century AD. It is a roughly like around 400, 500 years they ruled. And that's why they ruled over such a large area. Unlike you say like Gahadwalas, you're seeing their area is like, from Kashi till Kannauj. That is the total extent of Gahadwalas, which we have seen in the maps. Fine. And again, source mentioned them as slaves of Pratiharas and feudatory chief of Rajputas. Gujra Pratihara is the common link of almost all Rajputs that you have to remember. Again, the capital was Dhar. Founder is Shiaka. There is a question mark here, but that means there is still debate. There can be rulers who came before Shiaka who established Paramaras. So we have to just focus on those things about whom we are very sure. Their capital was Dhar. Their most famous king was King Bhoj, who was also known as Kavi Raja. He popularized Dhar. He wrote a lot of poems, etc., etc. Fine. Bhoj 101. And why these rulers are important? Because we have seen UPSC has given you the names of the kings and their dynasty, and they will ask you which of the following are correctly matched, only one pair, only two pair, and that's why these kings become important. Earlier they were not very important. Earlier we were like, you don't have to remember the names, but now you have to remember the names. So he is called Kavi Raja in an inscription. We have talked about it, and he wrote commentary on Yoga Sutra of Patanjali. You can have a look at it. Set up a college in the capital of Dhar. Dhar is where? Madhya Pradesh, MP. Fine. Expanded Dhar, founded the city of Bhojpura. Now let's talk about Chaulukyas. Chaulukyas, you have heard about them, you have read about them when we were talking about temple architecture also. They are also known as Solankis. There was a friend of mine, her name was Sandhya Solanki. She was with me in Samsung, and then she joined army. And then later on what happened? That her husband died in Arunachal, due to a plane crash or something. That was a tragic story. So whenever I talk about Solanki, that reminds me of her. May God bless her. So Chaulukyas, they are also known as Solankis. Their capital was Anahila Pataka. Anahila Pataka. And Chaulukyas, when we talk about Chaulukyas, we have talked about a very famous ruler of Chaulukyas, Bhima I. And again, their founder was Mula Raja. Mula Raja was the founder. Who is the founder? Mula Raja. And during the period of Mullah Raja II, Muhammad Ghori came, Mullah Raja II, around 1170s. We see Muhammad Ghori 1191, 1192 Battle of Tarain, and we feel like he won second Battle of Tarain and he won India. No, bro. It took him a lot of years. He struggled for almost 20 to 30 years to capture portions of Indian subcontinent. That means, and there is a quotation there also, that karat karat abhyas ke jadmati hot sujan. What does it mean is that you have to work hard. You cannot, sometimes what happens? Overnight success is actually, a result of years of hard work. So again, we are not glorifying Muhammad Ghori here. We are just saying that he captured portions of Indian subcontinent, but before that, he was defeated by this Mullah Raja II of Chaulukya dynasty in 1177-76. 1170s is the correct word. So almost 14 years before he faced defeat. Then he faced defeat in First Battle of Tarain. He may have faced more defeats during this particular period, So yes, you will also face defeat in your life. But again, we have to be. In this scenario, we can learn a little bit from Ghori, but again, don't kill me in the comment section. We can learn from any person who persists, and he persisted, Muhammad Ghori. We will see there is a difference between these QGG. Oh my God. So Qasim, Ghajini and Ghori, when we'll talk about Ghajini, you will realize his major purpose was plundering. He just wanted to plunder, capture the money and loot, and just go back to Ghori region. And then, Ghajni region rather. And then Ghori, or Muhammad Ghuri he is known as, he was one of the vessel, or this Ghurid empire was under Ghajni empire, Ghaznavid empire earlier. And then when Ghaznavid empire became weak, the Ghurid empire became independent. And from there emerged Muhammad Ghuri. So Muhammad Ghuri, unlike Muhammad Ghajni, his only aim was not plundering. Plundering is the aim of everyone who is, going here and there. But his major aim was to capture these territories, not just to loot the area and then go back. Now, again, I am not saying it, scholars says it. Fine. So let's focus here, bro, on Chaulukya. So Chaulukya, Solanki dynasty, founder Mullah Raja II, during period of Mullah Raja II defeated Muhammad Ghori. in 1170s. You have to remember this. This is an important fact. Generally people remember only Battle of Tarain. Then what else? Bhima I. Bhima I faced the onslaught of Muhammad Ghazni. Mullah Raja II faced Ghuri. So again, this dynasty is very important because they are facing Ghazni, Ghuri all at the same time, you know. Not at the same time, almost there is a time lag of 150 years, but they all faced them. The difference is Bhima I, he suffered defeat. On the other hand, Mullah Raja II, he defeated Muhammad Ghori. So this we have to remember. Bhima I, in the temple architecture, we have talked about Bhima I. He gave patronage to Sun Temple at Modhera, Gujarat. Sun Temple, Modhera, awesome temple. And then he also gave patronage to Jain temples which were there. And you know, you have to write in the comment section which particular Jain temple we are talking about. Bhima defeated Ghazni. Did Bhima defeated Ghazni and Mullah Raja defeated Ghori? No, I don't think Bhima defeated Ghazni. He faced the onslaught and he survived the onslaught of Ghazni. When we talk about Bhima I, we talk about how he survived the onslaught of Ghazni. So yes, let's focus here. So again, these are some important facts. We have talked about a lot of things related to Chaulukyas. And again, one thing which you have to keep in mind, Chaulukyas is not equal to Chalukyas. This also we have discussed earlier. They both are different dynasties. Chaulukyas here and Chalukyas will rule here, and scholars are still trying to connect the dots, but we have not found any major dot by which we can establish that they are one and the same, they are different. Just like Pehlavas are not equal to Pallavas. You know, they are different kingdoms, not equal to Pallavas. Pehlavas are Parthians, Pallavas are southern kingdom, Pehlavas are northern kingdom, you know, foreign origin. So these points you have to keep it in mind. Fine, sir. Map is the single most important source for you when you are reading these things, which is very tricky. So Chaulukyas or Solankis of Ahnilwada. Ahnilwada is also known as Patan, Gujarat. And Nahila Pataka is Ahnilwada. We have talked about this. Gujarat invasion by Mahmud of Ghazni, and when he overran Gujarat and plundered Somnath, during that time Bhima I was the ruler, and he gave patronage to Sun Temple and Jaina temples. And then this part, Muhammad Ghori invaded Ahnilwada or Patan, 1178, who was defeated by Mullah Raja II. Who is the founder? Mullah Raja is the founder. You may see it somewhere here. They have written it. Okay. So again, Mullah Raja is believed to be the founder. Mullah Raja II defeated Muhammad Ghori. And they were feudatories of Pratihara. See a question mark here. Again, what does a question mark denote? That we are not sure about it. We are not very sure. Some scholars say this, some scholars say that, but most of the scholars, they are tilting towards this particular phenomena or this fact that they were feudatories of Pratiharas. Kutubuddin Aibak also later on led 2 expeditions to Gujarat and plundered Ahnilwada in 1197 CE. And we'll talk about this. Kutubuddin Aibak, he was one of the most trusted slave of Muhammad Ghori. We have just discussed that Ghori had no son, no daughter, and he had a lot of slaves. Kutubuddin Aibak, Bakhtiyar Khilji, Yalduj, Kubecha. We'll talk about these Yalduj, Kubecha, etc. later on as well. Fine. So again, this Karat Abhyas ke Jadmati ho Sujan, like that means you have to practice a lot if you want to become an expert at something. You know why I have kept it here. Don't kill me for that. Now Chandelas. Chandelas, they ruled in a region which is known as Jejaka Bhukti. Pay attention to the map. Map. So they ruled in a region which is known as Jejaka Bhukti. Jejaka Bhukti, currently you know it as Bundelkhand. Bundelkhand. Now, in the comment section, you can post the difference between Bundelkhand and Bagelkhand. What separates Bundelkhand from Bagelkhand? So, and what was the old name of Bundelkhand? Jejaka Bhukti region. So, Chandelas used to rule over there. And see, they also captured Kanyakubja, and earlier we have seen Gahadwalas also captured Kanyakubja. That means these two must have fought a lot. Chandelas and Gahadwalas, they must have fought a lot. And then Khajuraho. See, what was the earlier name? Khajuravahaka. So again, Kandaria Mahadev temple has been made here, and that is the work of Chandelas. So these are some small facts, minor facts which you have to keep in mind, and the map will give you a broader clarity on who was fighting whom and why. So Chandelas of Bundelkhand ruled for around 500 years, ruled over a region of Bundelkhand which is known as Jejaka Bhukti, or which was known as Jejaka Bhukti. Founder Nanuka, very important. And generally these Chandelas, their rulers were known as Jai Shakti, Vijay Shakti. So generally their names were ending with Shakti. So keep that in mind. Chandelas constructed the Kandariya Mahadev temple we have just discussed. Khajuraho, you people love Khajuraho. Sultan Mahmud. Now, there is a question for you people, and you can post it in the comment section. Then I will like drink water because I need to breathe because I speak a lot. So Sultan Mahmud twice invaded his kingdom in 1019 and 1022. So which, here ADOC you can write. So which Sultan Mahmud we are talking about? Is it Qasim, or is he Qasim? Is he Ghajni, or is he Gauri? Your as Dark has written, this is Ghajni. Ghajni invaded this particular kingdom in like 1019, 1022. So you can see the extent of Ghajni's invasion. He went far wide to east as well. Like, okay. Now let's talk about Shishodiyas of Mewar. Shishodiyas of Mewar, and they were ruling around the Chittor region. They created something known as Vijay Stambh here. So they can ask you Vijay Stambh was created by which particular Rajput dynasty, Rajput clan, that is Shishodiyas. You know them, you know, Rana Pratap, Rana Sanga, all these belong to Shishodaya clan. And in this particular Shishodiyas, or with this Shishodaya clan, we associate certain things known as Jauhar and Shaka. So Jauhar is known to most of you. What is Shaka? Jauhar and Shaka, you have to study them together. So Jauhar and Shaka, what are they? So Shishodiyas, Mewar, Vijayastham, Chittor, and you know, they even gave challenges to Mughal Empire and Delhi Sultanate. They ruled for a longer period of time, but they arrived little late than the other kingdoms which we have discussed. So Jauhar and Shaka, what is the difference between Jauhar and Shaka? Anybody has any idea? Then I will ask you a question. I will show you a slide. I will ask you a very interesting question, which you people will like a lot. So Jauhar and Shaka. Difference between Jauhar and Shaka. So Jauhar, you may have heard about it, that women, to protect their pride, to protect their prestige, they give up their life, you know, in different ways. It has been shown in movie Padmavat. Shaka is the same scenario. Like women is doing Jauhar and men are fighting till death. They know that death will be coming for them, but still they are fighting, and they are fighting till death. So Jauhar and Shaka. Now I will show you a slide. I will ask you a very interesting question, and you have to answer me that particular question. Jauhar and Shaka, don't confuse it with Shaka era. This is a different thing. So Shishodiyas of Mewar, they ruled comparatively later than the other Rajputs which we were talking about. Remember the names: Rana Kumbha, Rana Sanga. We'll talk about them later also. Rana Pratap, Vijayastham, Chittor, built by Shishodiyas, and they, you know, fought many battles against Muslim rulers. Shaka and Jauhar we have talked about, and it is said that Shishodiyas of Mewar, they practiced the Shaka and Jauhar twice. 1535, at that time there was a ruler called Bahadur Shah of Gujarat. Against them rather, they did the Shaka and Jauhar. And they are also saying that in 1567, when Akbar was ruling, so against Akbar also they did the Shaka and Jauhar. You know, so now my question is, you all have seen, or most of you may have seen, you know, Padmavat, and in Padmavat also we are seeing Deepika Padukone committing Shaka and other guys committing, you know, Jauhar. At that time, it is not 1535, 1567 when Padmavat, the battle you are seeing, it is associated with Alauddin Khalji, and that period is around 1303. You know, Alauddin Khalji. So why we have not written that here? Why we have only talked about Bahadur Shah of Gujarat and Akbar? Against them, they are performing Shaka and Jauhar. Why we are not talking about Alauddin Khilji, Padmavat, and the Shaka and Jauhar which was performed at that point of time? This particular question is important for you so that you can understand the history of this particular region in a much better manner. So anybody who can shed light on this particular thing, what I am saying, I will reiterate it. I am saying that Shaka and Jauhar, we now know the difference between them. According to scholars, it was performed twice by Shishodiyas of Mewar, 1535 against Bahadur Shah of Gujarat, 1567 against Akbar. My question is, we all have, most of us have seen Padmavat. And there also Shaka and Jauhar were performed by the Chittor kings in 1303. So why we have not written it here? What is the reason we have not written that particular 1303 deadline or date? The answer is, I waited for 10 seconds, I think, and none of the answer come. See, understand that thing. It was not during the period of Shishodiyas that this particular Padmavat or Alauddin Khilji, attack happened. It was during the period of Guhillas, who were the predecessor of Shishodiyas. And this guy, this Shahid Kapoor, what was his name? Anybody who can post it? He was a Guhilla king. He was not a Shishodia king. Guhillas were the immediate predecessor, and after this Raja Ratan Singh reign ended, the Shishodiyas arrived. So that's why I'm telling the Shishodiyas reign arrived little late compared to other Rajputs which we are reading about. So please don't, these things are important. Sometimes movies also help you a lot. So Shahid Kapoor, Raja Ratan Singh, he was a Guhilla, last Guhilla. And after that, Shishodiyas arrived. And that's why this Shaka and Jauhar performed by Guhilla, we are not reading it here. And that's why we are only saying that Shaka and Jauhar were committed twice by Shishodiyas. Fine. Now let's solve some questions. We have read a lot of theories. We have solved 3 questions. 4th question for you. Anguttar Nikaya is part of. When we're talking about Mahajanpad, we talked about Anguttar Nikaya a lot. When we're talking about Buddhist text, we talked about Anguttar Nikaya a lot. And I gave you this particular homework. I know how many of you do homework. So let's do this question. Anguttar Nikaya is part of A. Sutta Pitak, B. Vinaya Pitak, C. Abhidhamma Pitak, D. None of the above. So Anguttar Nikaya is part of Sutta Pitak, Vinaya Pitak, Abhidhamma Pitak, none of the above. Okay, Sundaram has given the answer. The answer is Sutta Pitak. You people are not doing the homework. I'm very angry, bro. What is the purpose of homework? I have given you this homework multiple times in the previous lecture, that you have to find out Anguttar Nikaya. Forget about other Nikayas, bro. At least find out Anguttar Nikaya. Mahajanpad, 16 Mahajanpad, we are reading it from Anguttar Nikaya. This is a crime. So, Sutta Pitak. Now, other homework is find out Digha Nikaya is a part of which Pitak? Digha Nikaya. And yes, do your homework sincerely. Fine. Sutta Pitak. Mahajanpad, 16 Mahajanpad, their source is Anguttar Nikaya. Next question, 5th question of the day. Varun and Asi rivers were majorly associated with the Mahajanpad of A. Kaushal, B. Kashi, C. Anga, D. Kuru. And again, if you people are getting these questions wrong, go back and revise your Mahajanpad lecture. So Varun and Asi rivers were majorly associated with the Mahajanpad of A. Kaushal, B. Kashi, C. Anga, and D. Kuru. The answer is very good. Umesh has given the answer. We have discussed this. We have discussed all 16 Mahajanpadas in detail. Kashi is associated with Varun and Asi river, and that's why, and that's how Varanasi got its name rather. Varun plus Asi, Varanasi, Kashi Mahajanpad. They used to fight a lot with Kaushal Mahajanpad. And finally, Kaushal Mahajanpad absorbed Kashi Mahajanpad. And later on, Kaushal Mahajanpad was absorbed by Magad Mahajanpad. All these things we have discussed in the Mahajanpad lecture. So please revise it. Don't get these questions wrong. Kashi, Varun and Asi rivers to the north and south. And again, that's how Varanasi got its name. Rivalry between Kashi and Kaushal. Kashi was. Again, we have talked about all these things. Kashya, orange brown robes which Buddhist monks wear, and it is believed that it was manufactured here, and that's how many people believe that it was named Kashi. Fine. Revise it, bro. let's come back to our lecture. 5 questions we have done, 5 more questions we have to do. And you people have a lot of revision to do. So we are talking about Rajputs. Now we have to talk about invaders. Qasim, fine. Now let's talk about Ghajini. And then we'll talk about Gauri. And then we'll talk about something more. And then we'll solve, in between we'll solve some questions. So what we have discussed earlier, Muhammad Qasim, he was sent by a, caliphate. And later on what will happen? This caliphate will become a ritual, authority. Just in name, just like, you have president in our country, with due respect to president, he or she is a ritual authority. Most of the power is with prime minister. Similarly, caliphate will later on become a ritual authority, and the Turkish governors will establish their independent kingdoms. Mahmud of Ghazni, Ghaznavid Empire, later on Ghurid Empire will be established. So similarly, there is a guy called Alptigin. His capital was Ghazni and his son-in-law was Sabuktigin. Sabuktigin. Again, this is a tongue twister. This Sabuktigin is actually Mahmud of Ghazni. So, father-in-law, he had a dream that he wanted to capture, Indian subcontinent. That dream would be fulfilled by Sabuktigin. He actually, again, wanted to conquer India just for plundering. He did not want to stay in India, unlike Muhammad Gauri, who wanted to stay in India, although sometimes he used to go to central India to Merv and Khurasan. Because in Hindi we say ghar ghar hota hai. That means your home is your home. You have to go back to your home. Fine, sir. So Mahmud of Ghazni, again here, please understand one thing. When we talk about Mahmud of Ghazni, we'll talk about the kingdom. And this is in Afghanistan, Ghazni, Ghuri, all those things. In Afghanistan at that point of time, there was a kingdom which was known as Hindu Shahi dynasty. Hindu Shahi dynasty. And it is believed that this was the last, as the name suggests, Hindu dynasty in Afghanistan. And after that, the Muslim kingdoms were established. So Hindu Shahi dynasty was there. Mahmud of Ghazni or Sabuktigin, he will defeat Hindu Shahi kingdom. And again, there are lessons to be learned that although Hindu Shahi kingdom sometimes sided with some of the Rajput kingdoms which were there, the unity was lacking. See, again, Qasim came, you have this northwest frontier open. Ghazni came, you have this northwest frontier open. You have these passes open. Gauri will also use these passes. So they could have seen or shown some amount of far-sightedness, and they could have closed these passes, or they could have kept a closer look at these passes, which they did not do. And many people believe that Hindu Shahi dynasty did not get as much support as they should have got when they were fighting Ghazni or Sabuktigin. So he succeeded in capturing Peshawar from Jaipala. Now, let me show you Hindu Shahi kingdom, the reign, and see. This was the area where Hindu Shahi kingdom was ruling. They, at their highest, when at their zenith, they were also capturing regions of Kabul, etc. Later on, they captured major portions of Pakistan, and they were the last Hindu dynasty in Afghanistan. Let's come back. So we are talking about this. Do remember this. Jaipala belonged to which particular dynasty? That is Hindu Shahi dynasty. Just like we are talking about Nanuka or Jai Shakti, Vijay Shakti, or we have talked about Bhima 1, or we have talked about Mulla Raja 1, Mulla Raja 2. I know these are too many names. So you have to revise this particular lecture multiple times and you will remember it. Fine. So he has conducted 17 raids and the major purpose was plundering. And we have seen who faced his onslaught. A lot, the Chaulukyas, they faced a lot. So on the frontier of, again, Hindu Shahi kingdom, we have talked about it. Again, there is a question mark here that they ruled from 822 to 1026 CE. Question mark means again, it's not very sure. We still have to confirm these particular dates. One of the last Hindu dynasties, many people believe they are the actual last Hindu dynasty in Afghanistan. Fine. And I will tell you the meaning of that later on. Most of his expeditions were aimed. Unlike Gauri, we have talked about this, he was majorly interested in acquiring wealth and the plundering part. Here it is talked about, again they can ask you this. Just like we have talked about Battle of Hydaspes, Battle of Jhelum, it was fought between whom? Alexander and Porus. So remember these Battle of Vaihind. They can ask you Battle of Vaihind was fought between whom. And these are the battles which we don't read a lot. Even Battle of Tarain, everybody knows. Battle of Chandavar, few knows. Battle of Hydaspes or Battle of Jhelum, very few people know. Battle of Vaihind, I think almost, very 2 or 3 people will know out of 100. So we have to know this Battle of Vaihind. Rest all this Hindu Shahi dynasty, what they did, etc., that is none of your concern. You don't have to read that much. And what we have discussed earlier, these frontiers, these northwest frontiers were open and they could have closed it. They should have had a far-sightedness. That was not there. Even though in some instances he was supported by some Rajput rulers, but that was far and few in between. He did not get the adequate support, because of which he, like that whole Hindu Shahi, you see, let me go back and let me show you something. if we go back and if we see these years, although they are debatable, have a look at these years. 822 to 1026. 1026 is one of the last years where Mahmud of Ghazni, conducted his plundering. I think Mahmud of Ghazni died around 1030. So all these invasions of Mahmud of Ghazni, that led to the decline of Hindu Shahi dynasty. So all these things are converging. You can have a look at the dates again and again. Fine, sir and ma'am. So that is what is written here. And he, in 1026, the year at which we are saying Hindu Shahi dynasty ended, Mahmud plundered across Rajasthan to Somnath. And we have discussed this when we are talking about Mahmud of Ghazni. Two people you associate with him. One is very, very important. We cannot forget that guy. And that is Al-Baruni, who wrote Kitabul Hind or Tahqiq-e-Hind. Most of the information which we are reading here, or most of the earlier medieval India facts which we have read earlier, or we will read in future, Al-Baruni is the one who talked about it, because Al-Baruni was the guy whom this Mahmud of Ghazni brought with him. If you watch Bharat Ek Khoj, which is there on free on YouTube, Bharat Ek Khoj, based on Discovery of India, you will see this Al-Baruni guy has been played by Irfan Khan. There are episodes on almost each of these, scenarios or events. So Al-Baruni, Irfan Khan played Al-Baruni, and you can see the talks which happens between Mahmud of Ghazni and Al-Baruni. And then there is Firdausi, who wrote Shahnama. Later on you will see that when we will talk about Balban, when we will talk about slave or Mamluk dynasty. So in Shahnama there is a guy who is a very famous character. Some people believe that he is a villain, Afraisiyab, who was also considered God by some. So he claimed, Balban claimed that he is a descendant of Afraisiyab, who is mentioned in Shahnama, to claim that he was, heavenly, he was godlike. So please remember Shahnama, because it is world's longest epic poem created by a single poet. That was Firdausi. So generally these kind of guys, why they bring these kind of intellectuals like Firdausi or, Al-Baruni, to prove that they want to, learn a lot of stuff. I was reading or watching some, small short reel something. It was said that Akbar, he was illiterate, but he had a library. People were like, dude, if he was illiterate, why did he have a library? So then other people said that other people used to recite him the stories, whatever was there. So he used to listen like a kid. Again, that is a good information to have. So yes, sir, Mahmud of Ghazni, Al-Baruni and Firdausi. You can forget Firdausi Shahnama, but I will not let you forget him, because we'll talk about him when we'll talk about slave and Mamluk dynasty. But Al-Baruni, Kitabul Hind, Tahqiq-e-Hind, you cannot forget it. This is one of the most important source, which also tells us about the starting year of Gupta period. If you remember the PYQs and the questions which we have done earlier. Fine. So all these things are written here. This Mahmud of Ghazni will make things much easier for Gauri, because he have already weakened that particular frontier by defeating Hindu Shahi dynasty and ensuring their demise. Actually 1026 AD they ended Hindu Shahi dynasty, and that will make things much easier for Muhammad Gauri, but not very easy, because we have already seen Muhammad Gauri was defeated by Solankis or Chaulukyas. And what was the name of that ruler who defeated Gauri? So it was not like it was very hunky-dory and he just ran away and captured India. See, I captured. No. It was not that easy, but yes, comparatively easier. I made the mistake in that question. Never make that mistake ever again, Pradeep. Fine. So that's what they are saying. He drained the resources. He made things much easier for Gauri. And this Ghurid Empire was earlier. They were a vessel of this Ghaznavid Empire. Later on, when Ghaznavid Empire will become weak, Ghurid will become independent, and later on, they will come to India. Now, let's focus on Ghurid Empire. So, Ghur, Ghazni, all these are regions in Afghanistan. These empires were earlier under Ghaznavid. We have discussed this. Later on, they will become independent. And Merv, Nishapur, all these are regions of Central Asia. And Muhammad Gauri has his house in Merv or Khurasan region. Fine, sir and ma'am. So, Ghurid Empire, we have discussed the whole thing. Like initially, 1192, they will capture Ajmer, Battle of Tarayan. 1193. ADC is but obvious now, so I don't have to write it every time. 1193, they will capture Delhi from Tomaras. And then 1194, they will capture Kannauj from Gehedwalas. So, it's all very strategic and planned. And later on, after 1192 only, he will go back to Merv and Nishapur, because he has some work, because house is house. In house, you have your household work. And during that period, he will leave his slaves, that you rule over these areas. And there were different slaves. We'll talk about them later on. Kutubuddin Aibak, Yalduj, Kubecha. And then there was one slave which literally destroyed this particular area, Lakhnauti and Barisal, and established his own dynasty here. that is Khalji dynasty, but this Khalji is different from the Khalji dynasty of Delhi Sultanate. So Bakhtiyar Khalji, who was one of the slave of Ghuri, he will be active here in this Lakhnauti region. Very bad guy if you read it from historical perspective, and he will have a very bad end also. So again, karma bites, you know. So again, we'll talk about how karma bit Bakhtiyar Khilji later on. But please pay attention to map. Map will help you in understanding a lot of things. Very good. So Ghuris or Ghurids started as vassals of Ghazni. We have discussed all these things. Taking advantage of the decline of Ghaznavid, they declared their independence. Map is very important. Read it, we have discussed it. Unlike Mahmud of Ghazni, we have also discussed this. Ghazni, major aim plundering, major aim to capture the wealthy or the resources of wealthy temples of India. India during this particular period, in fact, I will be highly controversial here when I will tell you this, but 1658 to 1707, that was the period of Aurangzeb. So this is a period much before that, but it is said that 1700, some historian, some scholar wrote that India was not one of the richest country in the world. India was richest country in the world. Again, you have to corroborate this data with other sources. So according to one of the scholars, 1700, India was richest country in the world. When we talk about Aurangzeb, now we talk about a lot of bad things about him, as we should, but then because we are reading it from UPSC perspective, we have to balance it out also, right? So these are the points which we will use to balance it out when we will talk about Mughals. And why I'm talking about this here, I will tell you. So 1700, India was richest. Then the other point is he did a lot of bad things to Hindus, And then the second point which will counter this point is, during his period, the percentage of Hindu population he employed was highest compared to other Muslim or Mughal rulers rather. Now you may say that I said percentage, I did not say numbers. You may feel like, sir, he had such a big empire, so he employed more Hindus. I'm not saying in numbers, I'm saying in percentage also. So sometimes you have to do the counterpoint, you have to have the counterpoint. We'll talk about these. I'm not saying it. NCRTs and other sources, I will tell you the page number who are talking about it. So these points you can use to counter the points. So 1700, India was richest. During this particular period when Gauri Ghazni were coming, they were all mesmerized by India's wealth. India was wealthy. Oh my God, these temples had so much money and they plundered it. But Gauri, he was like, I will do the plundering. That too is the basic aim of any kind of war. But apart from that, I will try to stay here. Again, fine. So we have talked about Battle of Tarain, but we have discussed that don't confine Muhammad Gauri to Battle of Tarain 1177-78. We have discussed that he fought with Chaulukya ruler who was Mullah Raja II and faced defeat. So this point we have to remember. Battle of Tarain 1 means 1191 AD he faced defeat and Prithviraj did not kill him. That was his mistake. 1192 AD Battle of Tarain second happened. And this is again, when we talk about why Rajputs faced defeats from these Arab invaders, this is also one of the reasons. Very ethical code of conduct that they are running away. So we will not hit them on the, back portion. That does not look good. We will not fight in the night, although they can come and ransack anytime and anywhere, Other things also. The feudal army, they did not have a standing army, drunkenness, many of these kings and they have all kind of vices, not all Rajput rulers. Some of them were awesome. Some of them had these bad habits, but in Islam, drinking is forbidden. You may have heard about it. So there are different factors in like inferior cavalry, insular approach. We are not guarding the northwest frontier. All these factors will come to bite us and why we will face defeat. We means Rajputs. Fine. Yes, death of Aurangzeb 1707. Very good, Anamika. So yes, sir. So that's what is written here. Muhammad Gauri, and again see here. Muhammad Gauri thoroughly routed the army of Prithviraj who was captured and killed. Question mark, because Prithviraj Raso of Chandabardai says something else. So that's why we have kept it open. Whether he was actually killed instantaneously at that point of time or whether he survived and did something. Some people also believe, some scholars also believe that he went and he ruled for some period and then he revolted again and then Gauri killed him. So there are different interpretations. We will not go there. Again, nobody is going to ask you all these things. So question, let it be a question mark. But most of the historians agree on the fact that he was killed instantaneously. Means, okay. So the first Muslim kingdom was thus firmly established in India, and we are talking about Gauri. We have discussed all the things that he was very, that is the word, no? Very systematic in his approach. Let's use a simpler word. So Ajmer 1192, Delhi 1193, took it from Tomaras, and then Kannauj 1194 took it from Gehadwalas. That battle was Battle of Chandavar. We have discussed all these things, and that is what is written here. And then in between he will go to his house. So he returned to Ghazni and left his favorite general Qutubuddin Aibak to make further conquest in India. Why? Because ghar ghar hota hai. Your home is your home. You want to go back to your home to see how your friends and relatives are doing. That's why. Battle of Darayan, watershed, and again all these things they have written here. Ajmer was, these points, what happened in Tomara region, which was who were ruling over Delhi, whether they were allowed to rule or not. These points are debatable, but you can have a look at it. Ghori returned to Central Asia, leaving an occupational army at Indraprasth under the command of Qutubuddin Aibak, who was his most trusted slave. 1193, again, same thing we are discussing here. 1192, Ajmer, 93, Delhi, 94, means the Kannauj region, Battle of Chandavar. And why they wanted to capture Delhi? Because from Delhi they can capture the upper Gangetic Valley region, and they have realized the, how fertile it was, how prosperous it was from trade perspective as well. So they were like, we need Delhi. Okay. Battle of Chandavar. We have discussed all these things. Now there will be terms which we have to discuss. What are the terms which we have to discuss? I will just tell you those terms. So again, he is doing all these things. He is fighting all these battles. But in between, in West Asia also, in these Merv and Nishapur region, the Central Asian region, they are very far from, and that time they did not have a bike or a pulsar or a scooty or anything like that. So he had to go to these regions. Muizuddin suffered a sharp reversal in 1204 when he was defeated in West Asia and lost control of Merv and Khurasan region. Certain areas of Turkmenistan comes under this, Central Asia. And then see here, this story is fine. Here we have to focus on some terms which has been asked earlier in different exam, where there is a very high probability that UPSC can ask these terms. Khokhar and Karamatiyas. Focus here. What they are saying is that in Central Asia, when Ghori was facing certain, defeats one after the other, many people believe that he had died, because again, it takes time to come from that particular region. 1204, almost 10 years after Battle of Chandavar. So because of this, so many things, rebellions are happening. Now, Khokhar are rebelling in Punjab. We have to understand who were Khokhars, who were Karamatiyas. These terms are important because we have a phobia regarding these terms. So who were Khokhars? As it is said, they are in Punjab. They were initially Hindus. Later on converted to Islam, or means adopted Islam, due to the efforts of someone known as Baba Farid. He was one of the most famous Sufi saint. When we will talk about Sufi saints or Sufism, you will hear about Baba Farid. So due to the efforts, and that's why we keep on saying that you talk about Bhakti movement, rebellion by Khokhars. Very good, Pradeep. You talk about Bhakti movement, you talk about Sufi movement. You shouldn't be forgetting the fact that Bhakti movement was a Hindu movement. Sufi movement was an Islamic movement. Although they wanted to bring people of all religions together, you still go to Chishti dargahs and all those dargahs. Doesn't matter which religion you belong to. You cannot discount the fact that Sufism was a Islamic mysticism movement. That you have to understand. And this is one of the criticism of Sufism, that they did a lot of conversion of lower caste Hindus. Khokhars being one of them. So they were initially Hindus, and due to the effort of majorly Baba Farid, they got converted to Islam. So this point you have to remember who were Khokhars. Now let's come to Karamatiyas. So Khokhar, they revolted. Ghori came from Central Asia, because anyway he was not doing very well in Central Asia. So he was like, let me control the Indian region which I have captured. So on his way from the Punjab, Muinuddin was killed on the banks of the river Indus by a band of Karamatiyas. Now the next question arises. Khokhars, we understood who they were. Who were Karamatiyas? And why they killed Muizuddin? What is the reason for that? So Karamatiyas are Shia Muslim. If you look at the history of Muslims, so you will realize Sunnis are the dominant one, Shias are the minor one, And these Shia Muslims, Karamatiyas, they have also adopted some Hindu and Buddhist belief, and that's why you may have heard about this. If you talk about Muslim people who are from India, and the Muslim people who are from, let's say, Saudi Arabia. So Muslim people of India, they have much in common with Hindus of India than with the Muslim of Saudi Arabia, because the region you live in, that will impact your culture to a certain extent. Similar thing happened with Karamatiyas. They were Shia Muslim, but they have adopted some Hindu and Buddhist beliefs. Ghori did not like it. He persecuted a lot of Karamatiyas during his period, and Karamatiyas did not like it that Ghori was persecuting him, and so finally Karamatiyas persecuted Ghori. Did you understand this whole thing? This is actually fascinating, although sad to a certain extent. So what we have to understand here is who were Karamatiyas, who were Kokars, and what they were, like which religion they belong to, etc. etc. So hopefully these terms are clear to you now. And then Muizuddin died. And from 1206, Delhi Sultanate will be established. Map is important. Have a look at this map. Keep on looking at this map. Now let's solve some questions. Question number 6. Consider the following statements. A. Ashmaka Mahajanpad was divided into north and south by Vetravati river. B. Hastinapur was a part of Kaushal Mahajanpad. C. Champa was the capital of Anga Mahajanpad. How many of the given statements are correct? A. Only one, B. None, C. Only two, D. All three. Consider the following statement. A. Ashmaka Mahajanpad was divided into north and south by Vetravati river. B. Hastinapur was a part of Kaushal Mahajanpad. C. Champa was the capital of Anga Mahajanpad. How many of the given statements are correct? Is are correct? A. Only one, B. None, C. Only two, D. All three. Okay, Sundaram has given the answer. So Ashmaka Mahajanpad, which is also known as Ashika Mahajanpad, is the only Mahajanpad lying completely south of the Vindhyas. We have to revise Mahajanpad period. You people have forgotten things. So it was not divided to north and south by Vetravati river, which we currently know as Betwa river. That was Avanti Mahajanpad. So this is wrong. Hastinapur was not a part of Kaushal Mahajanpad. It was a part of Kuru Mahajanpad. Again, you have to look at 16 Mahajanpadas. Champa was the capital of Anga Mahajanpad. That is correct. So the answer is A, only one, which Sundaram said. And later on, Kritika also said. Very good, yaar. So please, sir and ma'am, revise these things. We have talked about Hastinapur, Kuru Mahajanpad. We have talked about Champa, Anga. And here, Avanti, you have Vetravati river, which is known as Betwa river. So, Avanti was divided to north and south by river Vetravati. Next question, 7th question. Kushinara and Pawapuri, where should be majorly associated with the Mahajanpad of A. Anga, B. Kuru, C. Vajji, D. Malla. Umesh has given the answer. Kushinara, Pawapuri, we have discussed, they are associated with Mahapari, Nirvana of Buddha and Mahavira respectively, and the answer is Malla Mahajanpad. So don't forget it. Fine. Malla Mahajanpad, Gana Sangha. Let's come back to what we were discussing. So we have to discuss this factors behind Ghurian success and defeat of Rajput. Has been asked in history optional, has been asked in mains, and they can ask you, give you these points in pre also. Which of the following factors played a crucial role in the defeat of Rajputs? And you have to choose them. So society and social structure. In like Islam, now you have division, but initially they were all equal. You don't have caste system which you have in, Hinduism. Although now you find tinge of casteism in Islam, Christianity, all religion to a certain extent. Again, don't kill me in the comment section. This is not my opinion. Scholar says that, right? So again, many people have answered it. So that's what they are saying, that there was equality, unlike our society, which was divided to a certain extent. And then, drunkenness, drinking. Like many rulers at that particular point of time were fond of drinking. Sometimes you drink one, one glass or something, but their one glass was like this. So that also played a role. In Islam, generally drinking is forbidden. So we are trying to understand the factors which played a crucial role in the defeat of Rajput. This is a minor factor, but the glasses were huge. Okay. Second point, internal conflict. This is a major reason. And insularity, that is a major reason. Inferior cavalry, they had iron stirrup, horse shoes, we'll talk about it. Those are major reason. Feudal army, they did not have standing army, many of the Rajput kingdoms, their own armies. These Turkish invaders, these Arab invaders, they had that. So internal conflicts, you can understand it from this point of view. 1192 Battle of Tarayan happened. The father-in-law, this Gahadwala King Jayachand, who will later on face the same guy in Battle of Chandawar, he did not come to, save his son-in-law. And then when he was fighting the Battle of Chandawar, nobody came to save him. So again, that shows internal conflict, that shows lack of unity, that shows mutual quarrels. Political disunion, absence of dominant power, there is no centralized authority, and that's why many people also say that this early medieval period is a dark age. Lack unity of command, feudal lords, feudal army, they were more loyal to their feudal lords rather than to the king. We have discussed this concept earlier also. Absence of strong frontier. From this northwest frontier, your QGG, Qasim, Ghazni, Gauri, all of them are coming one after the other. You are doing nothing or almost virtually nothing to safeguard these frontiers. Hindu Sai kingdom perished after the last attack of Ghazni. You did nothing. You did not, learn from that lesson of Hindu Shahi dynasty, Jaipala, etc. No. So again, absence of strong frontier, insularity, lack of strategic consciousness. They didn't focus on securing northwest India. No effort was made by them to join together to oust the Ghaznavites. Lack of strategic, again, we have discussed this. Al-Baruni in his Kitabul Hind or Tahqiq-e-Hind, internal conflict, absence of political dominance, no central power. They can ask you this. Who has written or in which book it is written? Hindu believe that there is no country but theirs, no nation but theirs, no king like theirs, no science like theirs. So again, there is a lesson for us. This is insularity. We are not even seeing what is happening outside. We just believe we are the best. And if you see, current India, there are certain people who have that notion. You have to have a look at other countries, bro. Israel is a very small country of the size of Tripura, and they have so many Nobel laureates. We don't have, we have Nobel laureates whom we can count on our fingers. So there are so many things. We are the best. You can believe that, but you also don't have to be insular. We have to keep on improving ourselves, and then only we can become a developed nation by 2047. So all these things are a lesson for us, which Al-Baruni is writing here. We don't want to face any such other invasion. We are already surrounded by 2 nuclear charged countries. So we have to be on our toes, So, and again, inferior cavalry. This which you are seeing right now, it is known as iron stirrup. Iron stirrup. So these kind of iron stirrup and then horseshoes. Horseshoes. So these Arab people, the Arab invaders, Turkish invaders, they had these iron stirrup horseshoes, which increased the efficiency of their cavalry. On the other hand, our horses were like, we are going here, we are going there, idhar chala, main udhar chala, jaane kahan main kidhar chala. That means sometimes I'm going here, sometimes I'm going there, because there is no iron stirrup to control me. I don't even have horseshoes, so my legs are burning. Horseshoes, what do they mean? Just like we humans have shoes, horse also have shoes. So these kind of things, these guys had, we did not have. We did not have at that point of time, and that played a crucial role in our defeat. Their superior cavalry. Iron stirrup horseshoes. Many people hear about these iron stirrup and horseshoes. You should at least look at them, how they look like. Fine. Military preparedness, absence of standing army rather. We had feudal army. We have talked about this. Again, have a look at this. We have discussed all these points. Professional and slave soldiers. There is a Ghazi spirit. Inferior cavalry, and again we will talk about this later on. You will realize when we will talk about these Delhi Sultanate rulers also, more than the sons, they believed more on their slaves, because slaves were like, if this king goes, we don't know whether the son will accept us or not. So slaves were, loyal to the hilt of these rulers. Same cannot be said about the Rajputs and their, descendants. So loyalty was missing to a certain extent. It's not like completely missing. But yes, you can understand slaves, Ghazi spirit and all those things played a crucial role in the success of Ghurians. Now let's solve some more questions. Question number 8. Consider the following pairs, king and dynasty. So this is the king and their dynasty. This is a PYQ, right? This is a question asked in 2022. And this is the question which forced us to read about Rajputs in detail. So king and dynasty. King Nanuka, dynasty Chandela. King Jayashakti, dynasty Paramara. King Nagbhat II, dynasty Gujara Pratihara. King Bhoja, dynasty Rashtrakuta. How many pairs given above are correctly matched? 2022 PYQ. A, only 1 pair. B, only 2 pairs. C, only 3 pairs. D, all 4 pairs. King, dynasty, Nanuka, Chandela, Jayashakti, Paramara, Nagbhat II, Gurjara Pratihara, Bhoja, Rashtrakuta. How many pairs given above are correctly matched? 2022, A only 1 pair, B only 2 pairs, C only 3 pairs, D all 4 pairs. I have not got any answer up until now. Okay, I know this is a tough question. You have to revise all the kings. Nanuka was the founder of Chandela dynasty, so first is correct. And Jai Shakti, Vijay Shakti, I have told you when I was teaching you Chandelas that most of these Chandela rulers, their name ended with Shakti. So Jai Shakti, Vijay Shakti, all these are Chandela rulers. So this is wrong. Nagbhat 1 was the founder of Gujra Pratihara. So Nagbhat 2, if you use that logic, he is the one of the rulers of Gujra Pratihara. This is correct. Bhoj was not a part of Rashtrakutas. He belonged to Paramaras. King Bhoj, Kavi Raja, who, gave so many things to Dhar, the capital of Paramaras. We have talked about this. So the answer is 2 pairs are correct. This one, the first one and the third one, only 2 pairs. Tricky question, very tricky question. I won't disagree with you on this one. And I think out of the 10 questions, maybe highest you may have got was 5 or 6 or something. You can post it in the comment section. These questions are tough. But again, that is the logic. If I give you tough questions now, you will thank me later in the exam. So the answer is B, only 2 pairs. Anyway, this is a PYQ, right? So only 2 pairs, and those 2 pairs are 1 and 3. Here you can see the description and all the things which is written. You can have a look at them. 9th question. Which dynasty first made Avanti a part of Magad Mahajanpad? Which dynasty first made Avanti? Please today go back and revise the Mahajanpad lecture. You people need it. And I am very serious about it. Sometimes I become serious. Although most of the time I am in a happy mood. So which dynasty first made Avanti a part of Magad Mahajanpad? A. Guptas, B. Shishunaga, C. Nanda, D. Mauryans. Which dynasty first made Avanti a part of Magad Mahajanpad? As Dark is saying, Shishunaga. And again, this we have discussed when we were talking about Mahajanpadas. See, this was a map which we have seen that 5th century BC, Haranyaka dynasty, they had their core region this. Before that, 6th century BC, this was the region. Then Haranyaka dynasty came, this region. Shishunaga came, they captured Ujjain, Vidisha, Avanti part, right? And then we have seen this particular map as well. 500 BC, how this whole thing is expanding, Ajatashatru reign. Then Shishunaga dynasty, they captured Avanti. So please pay attention. We have discussed this multiple times. I will keep on giving you questions, so that will help you in remembering things in a much better manner. Fine. Last question of the day. Consider the following terms: sect and their belief. Ajivika, materialist. Charvaka, everything is preordained. Gnostic school, believe in God. How many pairs are correctly matched? A, only 1. B, only 2. C, all 3. D, none. Consider the following terms: sect and belief. A, 1. Ajivika, materialist. 2nd, Charvaka, everything is preordained. 3rd, Gnostic school, believe in God. How many pairs are correctly matched? Only 1, only 2, all 3. D, none. As Umesh is saying, none. Ajivika, they believe everything is preordained. Go back to heterodox philosophy where we have talked about Jainism, Charvaka and Ajivika. Charvaka school, which is also known as Lokaya, they are materialist. Even if you have to take loan to drink ghee, do it. Ajivika, everything is preordained, Niyati philosophy. Whatever has been written in your destiny, you will get it. Gnostic school, that is, they reject the authority of Vedas. Astic school, they accept the authority of Vedas. Gnostic school, Buddhism, Jainism, Charvaka, Ajivika, all these will come under your Gnostic school. So none of the options are correctly matched. Answer is D, none. So now you people have wrote a lot of things in the chat section. Post your score in the comment section. Whatever is your score, if you feel like it, if you feel like, don't have any kind of preconceived notion that, oh my God, this is such a bad marks I'm getting. Even if you want to, post your marks also, 1/3 negative marking, you can post it. So now the last part is, before I say thank you, any doubt, any queries, anything you want to ask related to your exam? See, one thing people generally ask me, that sir, from when we should start our prelims preparation? Should we now focus on optional, etc.? Now the time has gone. So I always tell them from February onwards, that is from 1st February onwards, you have to holistically start your pre-preparation. Now you can leave your optional, you can leave your mains and everything, anything and everything. And you have to solely focus on your pre till your pre is done. So February, March, you have to prepare your concepts, solve all the questions. And then from 20th March to 20th May, you have to give 60 FLTs, 9:30 to 11:30, and you have to keep on doing other stuff. So now the time has come, especially from 1st February 2025, to focus solely on your pre. You have to leave everything else behind. So this is one thing which you have to keep in mind, right? So I think you people don't have any doubts per se. No doubts? No doubts. If you have no doubts, then we'll wrap it for the day. Fine. And you can collect your doubts and I can take them tomorrow also. Okay, sir and ma'am. So that's it for today. I'll see you people tomorrow. Take care. Be blessed.